Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. I'm excited to introduce you to Natalia Capello. She is the author of Song of Shadow. And if you like things like reincarnation, an awesome adventure in fairy tale characters that really do live in the fairy realm, this is the book for you. Thank you for joining us from Texas by Skype. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. This book was really good. So you have characters from the fae realm. You have a girl, your main character starts out where she's basically locked away for being crazy, like something you would fear that could happen in real life. How did this come about?
Well, I wanted to add a bit of our fears that we have in real life to a fantasy world. And Lorelai had been locked away because, one, she has nightmares, and she's had them all her life, but while she was in school, she actually went out on an adventure and came upon this conspiracy that nobody believed was real. And so her parents, because they were embarrassed of her because she's a noble, ended up locking her away in a convent.
But it was such a good way to start off the story. And then the way that she gets to escape and the adventure. How did that all come into play is there real life experiences involved? People that you knew that went through similar things?
No, actually, a lot of this story came from a tabletop role-playing game that I used to play. The character I'd made and the story, my husband actually ran the game, and I just fell in love with the story enough that I actually wanted to write in the world and create it. And it was more of a logical turn on how to get her on the adventure, really.
Wow. It was really well done. Have you been writing for a while?
Yeah, I've actually been writing since I was in the 8th grade, off and on, through high school. I have another name I write urban fantasy under that I've written before this. And this series is under this name. Like, it now has 3 books and a prequel novella out.
Wow. So how many books have you published before this book?
Let me think. I gotta count real quick. About 7, I think.
Wow. Yeah, I can totally tell. You're a really good writer. You really whip us into the storyline. And the characters were so well developed and unique.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun developing them and kind of taking the journey as I wrote with them.
I can see how role-playing plays into it. I love the way that you set the scene and just the conflicts that this poor girl goes through. It was well done. And that inner strength that you gave her as a strong female lead.
Yes, I wanted her to be more than just a kick-butt female. I wanted her to have that inner strength and not just beat up on monsters or people and things like that, but I also wanted her to have inner struggles as well as outer conflicts. And I guess I did put a little bit of me in her. I mean, I don't struggle with any sort of mental things other than a bit of anxiety. So I kind of put a bit of doubt in her, but in that, I'm able to overcome my anxiety and through her, like, have an inner strength.
What about the family dynamics and, just the fact that your sibling would be one to, turn you in at that point? I was like, and the way it all unravels, you're like.
So, strangely enough, I have a really good relationship with my family. So this, I think, just comes from actual role playing and a what if sort of thing. Like, what if her family wasn't
What about
kind or...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just saying, what if her family wasn't kind or close to her?
What about all the magical elements? How did you come up with that? Because they all follow a pattern and they're consistent throughout.
That took a little work. I love magic, and I love all types of, like, lore and knowledge on magic. And so I took that, and I took mythology and what I know on role playing and, like, some magical systems that I knew, and I built my little magical system off of that. So in further books, you will see different types of magic come into play, because there are different types of creatures you'll end up running into.
I thought it was great the way that you shifted her through these things where she started to learn to trust people and become friends with them and have incidents arise where she had to question that. Like, did she read the situation wrong, or did somebody really turn against her? And just determine who was really the good guys, who are the bad guys, putting stuff that happened in the past away, confronting all those kind of different conflicts that you come up with in life was really well done.
Oh, thank you. I try to stick with the belief that everyone is a hero in their own story. And so even the villains think they're the heroes. And then everybody has flaws and heroic moments. So I just tried to add that. And with Lorelai, it's just discovering who you align with, really. What your beliefs and who they align with.
What about reincarnation?
Reincarnation plays a huge part in the story. So in the world, reincarnation is a known thing that happens with most of the fairy, which all the races are fairy, obviously, in the story. At least all the main races that are known. And they pretty much believe that when you die, the Empress, which is their main goddess of their religion, will reincarnate you later. And it comes into play as, well, if what you did in the past life doesn't matter in this life. And if so, are you responsible for the things you did back then, or is this a new lease that you should just try something new?
What did you do to research that? Or how did you piece it together?
I kind of pieced it together. I've read a lot of stories on reincarnation and such, and original reincarnation, I know, is based on, I believe it's Hinduism. I believe it's Hinduism. I know it's Dharma and such, where you're reincarnated, and then what you do in this life determines what you'll be reincarnated as later. Like, if you do really good things, you will be moved up a caste and such like that. But it's changed a lot over the centuries, and I've read up and then I've pieced it together and I made it fit into what works for me.
Wow, you did a great job. It's really believable, and it was so great. It was one of those books that kept me up all night, and that's hard to do.
I'm so glad.
I couldn't put it down. I was like, oh, what happens next? It was seriously a great adventure. And the fact that she was wrongly accused of being crazy, and you were really great about drying out emotions, because that really made me angry for her, Like,
right.
That's so wrong.
Well, I'm so glad you liked it. And yeah, the conspiracy part and the thinking she's crazy is going to be drawn over several books, actually. I'm 3 books in, and I still haven't resolved the points with her parents yet. That's actually going to be a few more books to go because she hasn't reached the point where she confronts her parents because she's not going back to the main continent yet.
I know the conflicts with her sister, those were so well played out.
Yeah, they're going to come to a head at one point.
Really?
Yes. No spoilers, but they will come to a head.
I like the whole like artifacts that they were hunting for and the like Tomb Raider type findings where they, moving things has repercussions.
Yes, moving things has repercussions. Some artifacts you probably shouldn't touch unless you know what they do exactly. Otherwise, there will be consequences. As Varna, one of the side characters, learned very quickly. And Lorelai actually learns it with the sword she picks up, or Glaze.
Yeah, that was so creepy. Really creepy. But just the fact that she overcame it. It was so sad, though. You killed some of my favorite characters.
Yeah, I was a bit sad about that, too. To tell you the truth, I am a bit of a plantzer, which means I kind of plot and pants a bit. I'll plot out generally like certain things I want to happen in the story, like in one sentences. Okay. And then as the scene goes, I'll write what comes to me. And some of the particular deaths that happened just came naturally. And then I was really sad that they happened.
Yeah. Try not to kill off any more characters. You left us with a cliffhanger, too.
A little bit, yes.
Not fair. But I really like some of the characters that died. And the bad guys were really well done. Do you know people like that?
Not personally, but I have seen symbolisms like that, and it's sometimes in religion or in several religions, I'll see people who are just very fanatic like that they don't see past what is happening. Whereas Dawn, the main villain that's going at least for this arc, she has, when you get in, you learn more about her backstory, and it's a bit of a tragic backstory of what happened to her, and so she was really fun to write.
Yeah, that started to come out towards the end. That was creepy too. But creepy in a good way that you wanted to find out, and the evil around it was, like, what is going on?
Yeah. She is a bit creepy. No, she's really creepy. It was a lot of fun creating her because a lot of high fantasy I don't see vampires in. You see that more in paranormal and such, but I wanted to add it in there because I do love vampires and it fit for her, at least this type that I created. And you will see vampires in future books.
Really?
They actually make an appearance in all of the books I've written so far. There are vampires. There are different types.
How many books are in the series again?
There is currently 3.
Yeah.
And there is also a prequel novel for when she was in school, the adventure she went on where she discovered the beginnings of the conspiracy that led her to be locked up.
Oh, so everything comes together. Awesome.
Yes. That is called Nocturne. That prequel is.
So what kind of hobbies do you do when you're not writing that might influence your writing?
Well, as I said, I play tabletop RPGs. I also watch a lot of fantasy shows that I can get my hands on. I read a whole lot. I try to read every night if I can. And I also play video games.
What do you read in your spare time? What type of genres?
Usually I read High fantasy, of course. Epic fantasy. I read urban fantasy and some paranormal. I'm also starting to get into lit RPG. That's actually, I'm reading a current book called NPCs by Drew Hayes, which is turned out to be really good.
Wow. How do you keep up with it all? Is this your full-time profession, writing?
It is, yes. I actually just graduated with a bachelor's degree in last December, so now I will be able to devote full time to actually writing.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow. I can't believe how many books you've written in such a short time. Where do you get the inspiration for the series that you do?
Well, there is, like I said, this one came from the tabletop RPG. Also, I get inspirations just, I'll see a show or I'll see a character and something, and an idea will pop in my head like, well, what if it was this? Like, for instance, last weekend, my husband and I traveled to Waco, Texas to watch this show called Cirque Paranormal, which, if you've heard of Cirque du Soleil, this is kind of an Italian cirque where they do acrobatics and stuff, but it has a paranormal bent. And one of the characters, which was the Demon Queen, really reminded me of Lilith from mythology. And I had a what if we told a story where Lilith was an anti-hero. And I thought it'd be really cool. And so I've tucked that away for later to possibly write. I also have an idea of maybe doing a Romeo and Juliet retelling where they're an interracial couple, because I thought that would be cool for the conflict between them. So it's usually just ideas that pop in my head as what ifs, and then I just build on that.
Wow. So do you have a favorite character out of all your series?
It would be Lorelai. Honestly, at the moment, it would be Lorelai. Lorelai is my favorite.
Really?
Yes. She, out of all my series, Lorelai is my favorite. She has confidence, usually, and she's just strong, and she is willing to run around and do what needs to be done.
That's true. So what about these, there's some haunted mansions and stuff going on in this story. Are you into like going into haunted mansions?
Yes, I love haunted mansions. I love haunted houses.
Really?
I do. I do. I'm a big paranormal horror buff as much as I am a mythology buff. I like things magical, I like things kind of creepy, and I love things mythology. So one time my friends and I actually went to a haunted bed and breakfast. Like, they said it was really haunted. We heard some things. We can't actually prove if there was anything, but we did hear some things while we were there, which made it pretty interesting, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh, wow. That's how you make it so believable in the story about the incidents that happen, where it's kind of like a haunting or a spirit. It was really good how you came out, and it played into the whole story so well. Yeah, I was really impressed.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. But it was like, it feels like more. It was almost 400 pages. So it kept me up for really late for a couple nights. It was just one of those things where you're like, I want to find out what happens. Does she make it? You know?
Right. I would say I'm sorry, but I'm not exactly sorry. I'm really happy that it did keep you up.
No, it was just so much fun to read. And you broke up the chapters really well. So
I have been practicing at that.
Really?
My first book, the chapters weren't as broken up well. My first book, it was a scene per chapter. It was just, all the chapters were shorter, so there were a lot, but the endings weren't as good as I've been working on. So as I've written more, I've improved. which should be the case with most writers.
Definitely. What about your fans? How do your fans interact and influence the way that you finish a series in any way?
Oh, yes, they do. I have a fan group on Facebook called Natalia Capello's Acapellas, and I actually regularly go in there and ask them questions such as, how would you prefer, or not how would you prefer the ending, but if I did this, or if this happened in the story, how would you like it? If, like, say, if you had a character who had multiple romantic interests in a series, how would you feel? Or how would you feel if the ending wasn't actually a happy ending? And things like that, just to see what people would say and play at it, because I have different ideas on how I want to do it, but I'm not sure how people will react. So I do go and ask them, and so they influence what I do.
Yeah, but I think that's that element of surprise that you put in the book, where there's certain twists that happen that really draw your readers in. Like,
yes, it is true. And I try to keep the questions a little vague so I don't ruin the element of surprise of what I have planned for the future, but I do ask their opinions on how they prefer certain elements of the story or certain expectations they have.
all right, so we can follow you on Facebook and say, please don't kill off our character.
Yes, you can follow me on Facebook. Say, please don't kill off the character.
We're like, not this one. That's cute. So growing up, was English one of your favorite subjects? How did you get into writing?
My mom read when she was young, or when I was growing up, and so I always developed into reading heavily, and then I've always had an overactive imagination. Like, I had imaginary friends, I made up stories with my toys and things like that, and so it just kind of evolved naturally into just writing stories. I think my first full story that I wrote, I was in 8th grade, I think 6th or 8th grade, which was a little short story about a magical ring that granted wishes.
Nice. How did you come up with the title, Song of Shadow? Because it seems to be a play on words.
It is a play on words because Lorelai's magic is based on music. She sings to focus her magic into the effects that she does. And so I wanted a play on words that all the titles will have something to do with music, and then also probably something to do with the overall story plot or the plot of that particular book.
Wow, that was really good. I really like that aspect of her magic, too.
It was a lot of fun to come up with. I was a little inspired by bards. Bards in D&D or bards in role-playing games actually do have magical effects. Not as much as hers, like theirs are more sound-based or inspiration-based, whereas Lorelai's start out more elemental-based. But that was where the inspiration came from, that like you could sing and just make stuff happen.
I know, and the fact that one of the people that goes with her can touch things and see into the past to see what's happened to somebody, that was really good and really frightening from what he found out, which is just another thing that kept you tuned into the story, where you didn't want to put it down. You wanted to find out what happened next and keep going and going.
Indeed. He it's for his house, which is the noble houses, they are cursed and blessed with the gift of prophecy. It kind of also drives them mad. There is a theme of madness throughout my book here. But so it makes it really interesting on what I plan next and how I add different clues and things into the story.
Really well done. So what's next?
Next is, my third book, Canticle of Magic, for this series just came out, and I'm working on the fourth book currently, which is called Aria of Ancestors. And they are traveling they're traveling west and then further north around the continent. They travel a whole lot. So pretty much by the end of the series, you will probably have visited most of the world. by the time I end it.
Wow. How long does it take you to write a book?
Usually about 3 or 4 months.
For,
But that was when I
for
was
something
in
that's
college.
almost 400 pages, it only
Yes,
takes you 3 to 4 months?
it does, yes.
Wow, that's outstanding.
Thank you. I know people who are quick, way faster writers than I am, but it's really good to hear you say that.
Wow, that seems pretty fast to me. But thank you for joining us and sharing so much about how you came up with Song of Shadow.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. It
Oh,
was a
my
great
pleasure.
experience.
Oh, my pleasure. Until next time, keep asking questions. And if you want a really great book to read, Song of Shadow by Natalia Capello is definitely the way to go.